Hey everyone, welcome to Tuesday Tech Talk with me, Jason Pilar, and Nash076. Nash, how you doing?
I am good. How are you, my friend?
I am doing much better than Sony is doing, my friend.
Oh dear God, yeah, they're not having a real good week, are they?
No, you see, I've been having some digestive problems this week, maybe a little bad egg burps coming up, had to take some Alka-Seltzer, feel like an old man, but Sony must feel like just a woman who's been violated in an alley at this point.
Oh yeah, their farts no longer make sounds.
No, at this point, they are just... No, I can't get into that joke. I want to keep this show at least a little classy.
A little classy, a little. Yeah.
Little classy. Anyway, just to catch everybody up, I think, Sony originally had somebody intrude on the PlayStation Network, compromising 77 million accounts. Many of them, some of them were duplicates. Not all of them had credit card information, but Sony has assured us that they don't think they got access to the credit card details. Even if they did, the credit card information was encrypted. But that's not the end of it, now is it, Nash?
Nope, because it was revealed that 25 million more accounts were violated. Apparently, this intrusion occurred between April 16th and 17th, and this time, credit cards were involved.
24.6 million Sony Online Entertainment accounts compromised. Only 900 of the 12,700 non-U.S. credit cards details were stolen were active, with the rest, with all of the other details being out of date, showing exactly how much people care about Sony Online Entertainment. However, this now bumps up the number of people compromised from attacks on Sony to over 100 million people.
That's just stunning right there.
It is absolutely stunning.
Is this the largest incursion in history, in corporate history?
No. The TJ Maxx one is actually larger, pushing 180 million, I believe.
Ah, okay.
The TJ Maxx one was something of just record proportions. But I think that stands as the largest incursion. This now solidifies the Sony incursion as the number 3 behind TJ Maxx and I believe I want to say Bank of America. I can't, but I don't want to. I don't want to obviously misquote that and be completely wrong. Yeah. Personal information of approximately 24.6 million SOE accounts was illegally obtained. To the extent it has been provided to SOE is as follows: name, address, email, birthday, gender, phone number, login name, hash password. Which is interesting that they mention hashed password, because when Sony originally announced the PlayStation breach, the PlayStation Network breach, they just said email address and password. They never made any mention of encryption or hashing. And that was actually a really hot topic. We discussed this on This Week in Games with Skitch.
Right.
And unfortunately, the press conference they had, I believe, a couple of nights ago, clarified that the passwords were indeed hashed. So that whole debate we had on This Week in Games kind of pointless. But anyway, they were indeed hashed, which is good. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. Now the debate is it assaulted hashed, or is it just straight up MD5 hashing?
And that would be Rainbow Attack territory right there.
And if you're just straight up MD5 hash, you can easily Rainbow Attack that. In fact, you can easily just brute force it at that point.
Yeah.
In addition to the rest of that information, 10,700 direct debit records from accounts in Austria, Germany, the Netherlands, and Spain also include bank account numbers, customer names, account names, and customer addresses that were also compromised in the SOE attacks. This is just... How much more egg can possibly be on Sony's face at this point?
I think the really damning part there is that they said the credit card and the debit account information was on a database, an old database from 2007 that was apparently just available if you broke into their network. It was just sitting there.
It was just sitting. It was just there. It was just like, oh, well, all right, we'll just take the .db file, thanks. I don't even understand. And what's worse is how old these accounts are. I mean, a lot of these accounts, they date back to 2001, 2000, when EverQuest was around. They just kept the information because that's useful. I mean, there's just... do you trust Sony at this point at all? I mean, do you trust any company with your information at this point?
Well, that's a good question. I think Sony definitely has a competence issue at perception of competence, perception that they were cutting corners. I think that's the generous way of saying it. They were cutting corners. To leave that file just sitting around, why keep all this information on people? Why not purge the records? Why not get rid of it? Because seriously, is anyone still playing EverQuest?
Well, the EverQuest 2 still has expansions coming up.
EverQuest 2, yeah, EverQuest 2, but we're talking back to 2001. That's crap.
Well, people still play Final Fantasy 11.
That's got my information on there potentially.
Oh, does it really now?
Yeah, I played EverQuest the original EverQuest back in the day.
Well, if you've received an email from your old email address, double check it, because those are the emails they're actually sending them out to.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've got my information, because any email address I've given them was on Hotmail, and I haven't used Hotmail in forever.
Yeah, I know.
So, this is interesting. Just more bad news for Sony, and once again, Anonymous claims no responsibility for this. I still don't quite understand how one website can claim to speak for everyone who wants to be anonymous online, but whatever. I guess that works out somehow. It's just, if you're Sony at this point, you've had this massive press conference where you've sent up 3 of your PlayStation executives, Kaz Hirai, president. You've sent up the chief of information security, and you've also sent up one of their marketing directors. And if you watch the press conference, Nash, you can see that this is kind of like those 3 going up to the guillotine and just sort of eating crow here.
Yeah, they did that bowing for like.
They kept doing the bowing thing for like 5 minutes, like we are so sorry, and it's all very dog and pony show, and I don't buy a bit of it, but whatever. Maybe I'm just a cynical American. They've already eaten crow on that. Now, what do they have to do to sort of rectify this? Because this is 2 breaches back to back. In fact, the SOE one happened possibly earlier than the PlayStation Network one. Mm-hmm. May have even led to the intrusion in the PlayStation Network.
And as a result of that, the credit card information was compromised, debit information was compromised, bank information compromised, and they waited this long to say something. What? Well,
here's the problem. I can understand them waiting because they may have only hired one outside firm to check all the log details. And if that's the case, that firm may not have had a lot of people dedicated to it, and somebody may have just come up, a couple of days ago and said, hey, you guys might want to look at this. So I can understand maybe there being a delay, but at this point, you've just had 2 back-to-back huge events happen. Mm-hmm. One involving 77 million, another involving 25 million people, over 100 million people, personal information compromised. If you're Sony, how do you have any good bit of PR this year?
I don't think there's a way to reverse from this. That this much news, this much ink, these many headlines. Sony is the punchline right now. It's in when all the late night guys are talking about the PlayStation and they never talked about the frickin' PlayStation before, you're in trouble. Because people who have never heard of the PlayStation before, people who are older or who just don't game, are now, in their minds, in all these news outlets, they're connecting the PlayStation with hacked information.
And that's terrible for your brand. That is absolutely terrible for your brand. I really wish I could get a rep from Sony to sort of answer this question. I mean, how do you recover now from this in terms of your brand? Because when it was originally reported, it sucked and it was 77 million people, but the credit card details were encrypted, the passwords were hashed, and they did everything that's the responsible thing to do because you are accessing, information constantly, so you don't want all of it to be encrypted, and that's sort of the responsible thing to do. So you can sort of see, all right, that happened, fine, we can move on. But then it happens again, and this time it happens with bank account information, with credit card information. If you're Sony at E3 and you're on that big stage and you've got that keynote, because all the 3 have a keynote this year, what do you say? I mean, last year the E3, Sony's E3 was basically the marketing guy. What the heck? I don't even remember what the name is. Jack, I think. No, Jack Tretton's the president.
Yeah, the SEA.
Yeah, how do you what's that marketing thing's name? That guy they got.
Kevin Butler.
Kevin Butler. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Last year they just had Kevin Butler up there making fun of Nintendo for being a little toy, and then saying, "Oh, by the way, we've got the Move, and it's exactly like the Wii." Yay! This year, I don't think you could pull the same thing, could you?
No. They're probably going to try and keep their heads down. They'll probably make some game announcements. They'll probably play up some of their third-party developers and whatnot, but they are not going to try and start showcasing anything with the Sony brand on it for a while.
Sony, Cider in the chat room says, Sony is fine. The people that need to be worrying are the security firms that held the info. Sony, other than PR problems, is going to get out of this with little scratches. This is where I kind of disagree with you. I think the PlayStation brand is actually really hampered by this. Now, in terms of the gaming world, maybe not. I mean, it is the PlayStation brand inside the gaming circle is fine, but outside, expanding beyond that core set of gamers they have, I think that's a problem because it's not any security firm they hired to secure the information, which, by the way, they didn't have a security firm, from what I understand.
Not until the investigation.
Not until the investigation to focus on what happened. But they tried to secure. They did everything themselves. They built the network out themselves. They secured everything themselves. So I mean, this is all egg on their face. They can't really blame any other company besides themselves.
Right. What we need to look ahead is, you were talking about the brand. Come Christmas, it's not going to be the 10-year-olds out there purchasing the game systems. It's going to be mom and dad. And if mom and dad are browsing Amazon or they're out in the stores and they're looking between these two game systems, they'll be looking at, you got the Xbox 360, you got your Nintendo, you got your PlayStation, and Xbox 360's got a lot of the same games as the PlayStation, but they'll remember all those news stories that said, oh, the PlayStation will take your personal information and they'll leave it open. They're not going to get too deep into it. They'll just remember those headlines and they'll think, you know what, maybe we should get our kid an Xbox.
Maybe we should get our kid an Xbox, maybe we should wait till April until Nintendo comes out with something.
Because these are not the people who go out and read the tech sites. These are not the people who do the research. They just know what they see on CNN, on here on the radio, and what's been ingrained. And it's going to be amazing if Sony can pull back from this. But what's been ingrained in their head is Sony equals your personal information getting stolen. That's what they've heard.
This is a long and bumpy road Sony's going to have to take in order to reestablish their goodwill with the consumer, as it were. Do you think? I mean, obviously they're going to try and sort of they're trying to bridge the gap here. They're giving PlayStation Plus members a free month of service, plus Curiosity members a free month, and I believe they're giving out a free game to those players too. At least I'm not quite sure how the free game thing is going to work. I don't think it's going to be Madden NFL 2012. Maybe just a free game on their PlayStation Plus service, something like that.
Now, I'll tell you what, if they did go that far, all the gamers would forgive them instantly. If they went to a top-shelf title and just pick a top-shelf title, have it. That would restore so much goodwill, but they're not going to do that.
No, they're not going to do that. Unfortunately, they're just going to give you a free month of the PlayStation Plus service, the service that potentially got your credit card information compromised. I don't know how as a security conscious individual I could say, yes, I would like that free month, and please continue charging my credit card. I'm not quite sure how I go about just rationalizing that and saying to myself it's worth it at that point.
Previous companies who have been in this situation, the ones who have succeeded in coming back out of this, the ones who have managed to rebuild themselves, it's been a matter of they've gone completely transparent. They have said to the customers, look, we're taking this step, and this step, and this step, and this is everything we are doing. In detail, they'll put the details on a website or something, and they'll just do the commercial showing, here's what we've done to make our changes because you matter to us as a customer. Those are the companies that have survived it. Sony's going to have to either go that route, or they're not going to survive too well.
But they've never done that.
They never. No. Sony's not.
They haven't been very transparent about the attacks. I mean, up until the press conference, they were quite mum on the attacks. They said, we think this happened, and that was it. In fact, even in the press conference, the details they gave out, they didn't want to give out any details because they were afraid hackers were going to take advantage